What's good, Wizards fans? Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast, and it's your host, the real Ed Oliver, with my guy, Brandon Scott. We just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today, we're going to recap Deni's game against the Netherlands, and then his game today against Poland. So it was somewhat of the good, bad, and ugly, a tale of two games. Deni had a great game in the first the game against the Netherlands, putting up 20-plus points, and then this game, he had below 10 points. So, Brandon, what was your main takeaways from the first game against the Netherlands, or the second game against the Netherlands, where they went 2-0? Now they're 2-1. They do play Serbia tomorrow against Nikola Jokic, which is going to be a very tough game at 3 p.m. I can't wait to see that matchup, Deni versus Jokic. That should be fun. What was your thoughts about his performance against the Netherlands?
It was about the same performance with the game before. Deni, his shot looks good. He played real well. The Netherlands isn't a powerhouse team, so you got to look at the level of competition. But he continues to impress me. You see the improvement he's made over the offseason. So and even when his shot's not dropping, you see him contributing in many ways. The rebounds, the vision. So that's the basketball IQ I want to see from Deni. Even when you're struggling with your shot, you're still contributing in other ways. So I was impressed.
Definitely, yeah. So against the Netherlands, he had 21 points, 6 for 11 from the field, and 7 of 7 from the free throw line. He was super clutch. In the end, he had 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 for 3 from the 3-point line, 74.6 true shooting percentage, and a plus 15 in the plus minus box. So that game, some of the notes that I wrote down in that game, they also ended up winning that game. I look at the final score, 74-67. He hit a 3-pointer in the corner. He had a nice block as well. And he really woke up in the fourth quarter. The first half, he started off a little slow, which is kind of what he's been doing so far. Like in the game that just happened against Poland, he didn't score at all in the first half. We're going to get to that game too. But he had a big step back 3 where he was going one-on-one. He did a lot of between the legs moves and, isolation. You can see some of the stuff that he worked on with Drew Hanlen over the summer. We don't see a lot of that in Wizards games where he was doing, between the legs, in and out kind of stuff, crossovers and whatnot. He hit a big isolation shot and a big step back 3 to put Israel up 67-62 with 2 minutes left. Also, Jan Madar had a good game too. He hit a 3-pointer. They're both 21 years old. Deni had a nice move, went to the right and took a high arc runner. He missed the shot, but he got into the paint. I did like that. He got to the free throw line a lot, like I said before, and then he had a jump stop and a pump fake, and he got to the free throw line. So he got to the line a lot. He did have a nice block on a fast break as well. He did a lot of pump fakes, so that's where he's trying to improve on finishing, where he's taking his time. He'll come to a jump stop, do a pump fake, and then go up. Where last year he kind of rushed a little bit around the rim. So that's where I've seen some improvement areas. And then in the third quarter, he did a between the leg move, and then did a push shot in the paint, like a push, kind of like Tony Kukoc-esque type of shot. Then another note that I wrote down, he had a nice steal that led to a Jan Madar 3-pointer where he had a hockey assist. A lot of his takes were, and then he had a nice move, went to the right and took a high arc runner, but he missed. He got to the paint. I already talked about that one. He got into the lane a lot and hit some big shots for Israel. And then he hit a couple threes. The 3-pointer in the corner that he made in the first half. Started off 2-2. He had a putback with 16 seconds left, and then he hit a tough turnaround buzzer beater before the end of the half. So it was like a turnaround. They ISO'd it out for him. He had a tough turnaround. It was like a rainbow shot, a long 2, and knocked it down. So he really has been a go guy. They have used him as a point forward or a secondary ball handler. That's what I've seen. That's what I saw in the first game.
Oh, absolutely. What I see most from Deni this offseason and, with the FIBA is him working on his craft. You brought up, the pump fake. Very often, really his first year, you didn't see a lot of that. He was rushing his shot, especially in the paint. He's working on his craft. That's all you can ask for is, especially getting to the basket and dealing with contact. Mm-hmm. That was one thing that he kind of shot away last season, not really finishing through contact. You've seen a lot of that. So I'm very impressed because he's working on his craft. He's a good player that could take that leap this season. So, seeing him work on his craft, because not a lot of players do. I ain't trying to call nobody out Ben Simmons, but, you know, working on your craft. You're a professional basketball player, so you know, like any other job, you want to work on your craft. So he's doing that. So he's doing the work that he needs to do. So, absolutely, I'm very impressed.
Definitely, yeah. So the good, bad, the good from that, I love the turnaround jumper. I love the way he got to the paint. I love the way he got to the free throw line, making all his free throws 7 for 7 from the free throw line. I love him being aggressive. That step back 3 in the clutch. He's been super, super clutch. Now, towards the end of the game, in the last 2 minutes, they were up, but he had a terrible behind the back pass, trying to be a little too cute and a little too fancy. Threw the ball out of bounds. But he also had another turnover where they trapped him in the corner coming up above half court. And the Netherlands came down. They hit a 3-pointer, and the Netherlands were only down by 3 with a couple seconds to go. So he was getting a little too fancy, a little too cute towards the end of the game. So that was the ugly in my opinion, in that first game against the Netherlands. So he had a great game overall, but you got to finish it. You can't get too cute and too fancy throwing behind the back passes. I know Tommy Shepard went to a game out there. I don't know if he's still out there. I'm watching Deni play, but I know that didn't make Tommy Shepard happy at all. And once again, he drew 8 fouls in that game, but he did have 5 turnovers. So that's what he's got to work on. He doesn't really turn the ball over much with the Wizards from what I see. He doesn't, handle the ball much. His usage rate is really low, 16% this past year. But he definitely has to clean that up. So, but we're going to get to the game today against Poland. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Ready? Delicious, indulgent cookie dough. I love cookie dough. Cookie dough is my favorite flavor. It's my favorite flavor of ice cream, everything I eat. But this is healthy. Built Bar is healthy, covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite cookie dough chunk puffs. They have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories, and they have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Run to Built.com to snag a box for you and the family. It will be the perfect treat. Or you can find a really good hiding place and just hoard them for yourself. What's great about Built is that all of their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and it provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just a quick grab of bite to eat. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKEDON15. All right, Brandon. So what were your thoughts about the game today against Poland?
You saw other people step up. He struggled today. He 3 points. Like you said, he didn't score in the first half. But the positive I'll take out of it, like I said, obviously the shot wasn't dropping. They were focused on him. He was the focus on their defensive planning. And 8 rebounds. Yes, plus minus if you get into that. He was minus 26. But I like to see the rebounding. All I ask for, I want to see people contribute. Even if the shot's not dropping, you contribute in some way. So 8 rebounds, that's a positive. You're going to have bad games. So, today they struggled. But, next game, Serbia, man, But I was still impressed by, him trying to contribute any way possible. So.
Right, yeah. So 8 rebounds. I don't. Yeah, you got the numbers in front of you. I don't. Did he have 3 points today, or did he have more than that? 3 points. Okay, yeah. So 3 points, 8 rebounds. The site I'm looking at is actually in a different language. It's kind of hard to find the Eurobasket stats sometimes. So yeah, 3 point. Yeah, like you said, 27 minutes played today. 3 points, 8 boards, 3 assists. 1 for 6 shooting today. 1 for 4 from the 3-point line. And 0 for 2 from the free throw line as well. And then he had 3 turnovers today. So just a rough shooting game all around. Like you said, they really did focus on Deni. They really did, and of course, he's leading the team in points. He was leading the team before that game in the past 2 games with 22 points a game. He was the only player on Israel to average double figures in points as well. So he really was the key point. And a lot of the times they would foul him, when he got a full head of steam, when he was getting past guys, they made a point to foul him and stop him. They really didn't want to get him. They didn't want to let him get into the paint or get to the free throw line. When they had fouls to give, they were stopping him by fouling him. Or if he had a chance for a fast break, they were stopping him and fouling him. Now, in the NBA, they call that a take foul. So they're taking that out of the game, which I'm really happy they're stopping people from doing that because it really does mess with the game. I like when the game has a flow to it, transition, basketball, fast breaks. I get they want to stop it and get into a hat for it. It puts the defense in an advantage over the offense. And we know playoff time, it's a slower game, but at the same time, I'm happy they're taking that take foul out of the game. So, but yeah, you can see some of the body language. You could see he was frustrated. This wasn't one of the games where, in the second half he just, he went off and was clutch. It was a struggle for him. He couldn't knock it down from the three. Had a couple of turnovers there as well. Had a shot clock violation turnover where he just didn't know, how many seconds were left on the shot clock. The free throws disappointed me. They needed those free throws in the clutch, and they came down. They had a big man for Poland who's 7'1", who had a man bun. I can't remember his name, but he was torching Israel. And then also Slaughter, the player's last name is Slaughter, AJ Slaughter, I think. He had 24 points tonight. They really couldn't stop him. He was getting to the basket at will. He had a nice he dribbled the ball out to the three-point line in the fourth quarter and then went baseline on Deni as well. We know Deni is a really good defender, so that was out of his character. But yeah, it definitely was an underwhelming game for Deni. He really needs to bounce back against Serbia tomorrow, which is going to be tougher. And then he had an offensive foul. They called a charge on Deni towards the end too, which I thought it was a bad call, but the game was out of reach after that. They took Deni out in the first half or in the third quarter. They didn't put him back in until later in the game too. But it was just an off night. Like you said, other guys stepped up. Jan Madar stepped up. Some other guys, I gotta look at their names on the roster too. And the other big man, Sorkin, number 4, didn't play much. I thought he had a good first half, and they didn't put him back in. But it was a struggle for them. And Poland, they actually lost to Finland, which Israel beat. But it's any given day, you never know who steps up.
Oh, absolutely. And this is kind of what I don't want to see to a certain degree from Deni is getting down on himself. Look, the NBA, man, they're gonna test you, and it's all mental. You got players like Patrick Beverley that he knows how to get in your head. So he can't. He's got to work on that. He's got to because a lot of these games, the defense gave him a lot of room. You see the athleticism, you see how he can handle the rock. The point forward. But you also see that, especially at the top of the key, they're giving them plenty of space to get that shot off. NBA's not gonna do that. They're gonna get in your face. They're gonna hit you right before you shoot your shot. You know what I mean? So I want to see, he's got toughness. I want to see a lot more mental toughness from Deni because the athleticism is there. AJ Slaughter, wow, he was rocking, man, and it's an off game, but like I said, it's ill time, man, because you're going against Serbia, man, and Jokic, man, he's going to punish them down in the paint, man, and just shoot, it's more than the paint, Jokic and his vision. I mean, we can go on about Jokic, but yeah, I would like to see a lot more toughness mentally from Deni, because everything's good to go when you're riding high and you're scoring, but you're going to take those L's, man, and you got to be able to I like the 8 rebounds he's contributing, but he's got to get out of his head, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, you just want to see consistency. He had the first 2 games were very encouraging, really good games. And then, you kind of see it with the Wizards too, where there's inconsistency, where he'll go on some shooting funks or shooting slumps. Remember where, the Warriors game, he stayed in he put up something on Instagram where he stayed in the gym until, past midnight, because, he had some off shooting nights. He was just trying to get in the gym and get out of that funk and get in a better mental space. So sometimes he can't get down on himself. And that's the thing about you brought up yesterday or the last episode about him starting at the 3. Will he have opportunities, in the first 2 games, some of the games he's played, he hasn't played well in the first half, but he's woke up in the second half where with the Wizards, he's not going to be the focal point in the rotation. He's not going to, are they going to use him as a point forward? Is he going to have the ball in his hands as much as he has with Israel, where he might not get those opportunities with the Wizards? I would like to see him get those opportunities. But, that's the question mark with him starting at the 3. If he's making mistakes in the beginning of the game, is Wes Unseld Jr. going to allow him to play through those mistakes where, you have a guy where Wes Unseld Jr. is going to trust more in Will Barton because, Will Barton has played for Wes Unseld Jr. already, so he knows what he's going to get from him. So is he going to go with the veteran and Will Barton to start at the 3 and give more minutes to him, or give it to a guy like Deni who's developing, who may have a higher ceiling and has the potential, but are you going to let him play through the mistakes?
Yeah, I agree. That's just really the only knock against him for what I've seen is just, dealing with adversity. I say time and time again, dealing with adversity, not getting down on yourself. But, yeah, you can't make it, continue the trend of starting slow. The NBA, man, you start slow, you might be down for good in the game. You got to, he's got to learn to, You know, you go 0 for 2, you gotta kind of figure the game out quickly in the NBA. You know, if your shot's not dropping, you know, you gotta contribute somehow. And like I said, from what I've noticed from the defense, they're giving them way too much space, and that's my only knock, about the defense that I've seen play on him. Because the NBA, they're gonna be on your face. They're gonna be in your face. You know, they're gonna talk junk. They're gonna get in your head. And you know, so if you take the mental part out of it and the bad game, overall, I'm very impressed from what I've seen from Deni. And he has shown that, you know, he's willing to work on what he needs to work on. You know, for example, you know, last season you were, you know, being in the gym, you know, Instagram, you know, showing the shots, you know, the fact that, you know, he was able to work out what you were handling. Because look, a lot of these trainers, they don't take anybody. So, you know, he's shown enough in his NBA resume to this point for him to want to work with him. You know, so, you know, overall, I like what I see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so definitely a disappointing game, but we do want to see him bounce back against Serbia. You know, is it a concern that, you know, Poland didn't have any NBA players, even though Poland, they have a good team? You know, we do want to see him show out against this competition. Eurobasket is a tough tournament. It's an exciting tournament. Guys playing for their country and playing hard. So we do want to see him ball out here, and we want to see it translate to the NBA game for sure for the Wizards. So, but yeah, Iran, I was messaging Iran Sirocco, my guy. He just said that he wanted them to use him. He wanted Israel to use him as a 3 or a 4 as a secondary playmaker. They use him as the point guard for the most part, bringing up the ball, and that they were really attacking Deni at the point of attack. He said the best points in the game, there were like 2 minutes in the fourth where they let Deni create off the dribble after a screen and transition or posting him up on the wings. And it was his best stretch of the game, resulting in a 3 and 2 assists for threes from Levy and Yam Madar, who plays for the Celtics as well. Then he disappeared. Then Deni disappeared again. So, and this is also Deni's first time playing with the senior national team. That most of his teammates are young. So, just want to see Deni bounce back. But we're going to finish up on the top 25 power forwards that came out on hoopshype. I'm going to list them, and then Brandon, we're just going to give our opinions on that real quick, and then we'll wrap it up for today. And then we'll probably see you guys the next episode talking about Deni's performance against Serbia. So the 25th guy is Keegan Murray from the Kings, a rookie. We talked about this before the show. You know, you weren't a fan of them putting a rookie on the list. Number 24 is Lauri Markkanen, who plays for the Utah Jazz now, who Deni had a great game against Lauri Markkanen. And then Dorian Finney-Smith for Dallas, number 23. Jabari Smith, 22, the rookie out of Houston. Wendell Carter, number 21 from the Magic. Cam Johnson, number 20 from Phoenix, from the Phoenix Suns. Aaron Gordon at number 19. And then our guy Kyle Kuzma at number 18. How do you feel about Kyle Kuzma being at number 18? In front of him is Harrison Barnes at 17. 16 is Jeremy Grant. Number 15 is Christian Wood. And then at 14 is Chris Tabb. So how do you feel about Kuzma's place there? Do you think he should be higher than anybody that was above him? Above him was Christian Wood, Jeremy Grant, Harrison Barnes.
Man, that's disrespectful. I mean, he has proven that he stepped his game up last season. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, the clutch shots, you know, the game winners, you know, the Detroit Pistons game. I mean, yeah. And the fact that he got a rookie. I mean, you know, Christian Wood, you know, who's now a Mav, he hasn't shown the clutch. You know, he can shoot behind the arc, but that's not his forte. So, yeah, it's disrespectful. Come on. I mean, Kuzma has shown enough to where he shouldn't be 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you would have him over Harrison Barnes or Jeremy Grant?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because look, you know, just for clutch, you know, he stepped his game up last season. You know, a couple years ago, yeah, absolutely, those two would be in front of him. But you know, last season, you know, first season not being on the Lakers, you know, he took a central role not only by his leadership, but just his play. You know, he became a complete player. You know, he was young in LA, and you know, he was more of a complementary piece. You know, and when he came to DC, you know, he became an all-around player. His defense got better. You know, his three-point shot was on point. You know, his defense. I mean, the leader. You know, yeah, absolutely. You know, come on, that's
right. Yeah, I got him above Harrison Barnes. So I think he's a better playmaker than Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes averaged 16 points a game and 5 boards. Kuz averaged 17 points, 8 boards. I think he's a better rebounder than Harrison Barnes. I think he's a better passer than Harrison Barnes as well. Kuzma, yeah, he beat him all around in all stats, not just looking at raw stats, you know, off Basketball Reference. You know, Kuzma averaged 3.5 assists per game compared to Harrison Barnes doing 2.4 assists. I just think Kuzma's I think last year he was a better all-around player. Like you said, he was a better passer, had a triple-double. Had a couple of games where he had, almost double digits assists. He had a 25-point, 22 rebound game, which hasn't been done since Chris Webber on the Bullets/Wizards. So Kuzma had a great year, and he's clutch, like he brought up too. He had some really big threes, some big shots towards the end of the game. He had a big block on Joel Embiid to seal a win against the Sixers, where it was an upset victory for the Wizards. I thought he took a leap last year, and I think he's primed this year to get a nice contract after this season too, and he could be potentially part of a big three or I would say solid three, not a big three, but a solid three with Porzingis, Brad, and Kyle Kuzma. So I love the way Kuzma played. He stepped up, man, and did a really good job against, defense. Defenses were playing against him like he was a number one guy, especially when Brad went out too. He was getting double, had to take some tough shots down the stretch too, and really had some big game for the Wizards. He had a game where he hit 8 threes in the game too. So I would have him over Harrison Barnes or Jeremy Grant too. I like Jeremy Grant a lot as a 3-and-D guy, but I just think, Kuzma last year played better than those guys for sure. Christian Wood, he averaged 17 points and 10 boards. I look at Christian Wood more as a center, but would I take Kuzma over Christian Wood? Yeah, probably, because Christian Wood kind of just put up numbers on a bad team with the Rockets, who are a lottery team. For the last few years, they've been a top 5 lottery team. So Kristaps, let's get to Kristaps though. Kristaps at 14, and honestly, do you see him more as a center or as a power forward? I always see that before we get into this.
I see him more as a center. Mm-hmm. He could play the 4, and I'm very intrigued about whether he could play the 4 next to Gafford. But I think traditionally he's a center. I think because of his height, it's tough to, certain players like Tobias Harris is the NBA. They're a tough guard for him because they're quicker, and just being 7'3", you're not going to be as quick as a lot of your more agile 4s. So I definitely see him as a center.
Yeah, I'm with you that too for the defensive purposes too. Like sometimes Jason Tatum's played at the 4, sometimes Jaylen Brown has played the 4. Like you said, I don't like the matchup against Tobias Harris defensively. I like the matchup offensively for Porzingis against those guys. He can just shoot over. He can basically shoot over anybody. Pascal Siakam's listed as a 4. I don't really like that matchup. Guarding him on the perimeter, the foot speed, I don't really like that matchup either. But it just depends on the matchup, like we've said before. If they're playing like against the Cavs with Evan Mobley or the Timberwolves with Gobert and Karl Towns, and then I would like to see Porzingis at the 4 and Gaff at the 5. But I think Porzingis is best at the center as that stretch 5. I think offensively he dominates against slower bigs, where he can just get guys out there because he can knock down a 3 and he can just do a pump fake and get to the basket or get to the mid post or to the free throw line and knock down jumpers. So now Porzingis, he's 14th, right behind John Collins. And then you could really argue that Kyle Kuzma and John Collins are very close if Kyle Kuzma's not better. Now, above Porzingis at the power 4 spot is John Collins at 13, Julius Randle at 12, Jaren Jackson at 11, Paolo Banchero from Orlando at 10, Tobias Harris at 9, Draymond Green at 8, Scotty Barnes at 7, Evan Mobley's at 6, Pascal Siakam at 5, Zion at 4, Karl Anthony Towns at 3, Anthony Davis at 2, and then the best power forward in the league is Giannis. So would you put Kristaps above anybody, or is there any other players that you think are too high or too low?
I think he's where he needs to be. I mean, like I said, to me he's more of a center. But Paolo, man, I mean, he's a rookie. I mean, he looks good as a player. You don't get me wrong, you know what I'm saying? But he hasn't played 1 minute in a regular season game in the NBA. So I just have a problem having him that high. And the same thing with Zion. Look, availability is the best ability. He's been out the game. He didn't even play last season. So, I mean, at number 4, we're pretty much going off of potential. Right. Because he hasn't played. And we really don't know what we're going to see from Zion. So those 2 guys, I think, are way too high. I mean, I think Zion, really, because of potential, he stays in the top 10. But Paolo, I like what I see from him in Summer League. His time at Duke, I like what I see from him. But like I said, he hasn't played 1 minute in an NBA game. Look, Summer League ain't NBA regular season. So, yeah, those are the 2 that I would definitely drop down a little bit.
Right. I think, honestly, John Collins is a tough one for me. I think he's better than 14 as a power forward. I think he should be in the center list, but I think he's better. I like him with his chip on his shoulder. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Porzingis because of the injuries. He hasn't played a lot of games the last 2 years. Super talented. It just didn't work out with Luka in Dallas. So I think a lot of people are down on Porzingis. They just don't trust that he can stay healthy. But from what I saw in those last 17 games with the Wizards, and then judging off FIBA, just how healthy he looks, the fluid movement, the foot speed, and the lateral movement that I saw, how fast he was moving. I like that I think he has a chip on his shoulder, and he has a player option this year for his contract. So he's playing for that next contract too, man. I think Porzingis has a chip on his shoulder. And I think we're gonna meet, like you said before, bearded Porzingis. I think we're gonna get a determined, aggressive Kristaps Porzingis that's gonna be aggressive in the post and really, really show that he's a 7'3" unicorn mismatch. So I'm deeming the season as the revenge season for Kristaps Porzingis. The unicorn again. I think he can get back to all-star form. He really did play like an all-star caliber player in those last 17 games for the Wizards. When I say he's better than Julius Randle, I would take him over Julius Randle if healthy. Jaren Jackson is really good. I like him out of Memphis. I think he plays really well with John Morant. Just fits well with those young guys in Memphis. I think he's better than Paolo. I think you can't really put Paolo over Kristaps just yet. Tobias Harris. I think he's better than Tobias when healthy. Draymond Green, he's just a different kind of player because he's a glue guy. He's the best, probably the best glue guy in NBA history, or best role player, I would say. Scotty Barnes, that's a tough one. Would I take him over Scotty Barnes? Is tough. Evan Mobley, right now, Evan Mobley has the potential to be better than Porzingis right now. Pascal, I think Pascal is better. Zion, like you said, that's potential. Karl-Anthony Towns is better at the moment because he can stay healthy. He's been more consistent for sure. Anthony Davis, a lot of injuries too, but I think he's better than Kristaps right now. Giannis is the best player in the NBA right now. So I would have Kristaps above. He's at 14 right now. So I would have him above Tobias Harris. I would have him above Paolo Banchero. Honestly, I probably have him over Jaren Jackson. I probably have him over Julius Randle too, honestly. I think he's better than John Collins too, because honestly, John Collins, a lot of his baskets are assisted baskets from Trae Young. A lot of pick and roll, pick and pop, where he doesn't create much off the dribble, where Porzingis, he's really good off the dribble. Like the article says, for starters, John Collins boasts one elite skill. His finishing out of the pick and roll, an important trait for bigs today. But, can he do anything else? Where Porzingis can put the ball on the floor and create and just be a unicorn. So I would have him above John. I would have Porzingis at least top 10.
Hey, I totally agree, especially on Randle and John Collins. John Collins, he needs to show me that he's a complete player. You see a lot of alley-oops. You see, a lot of dimes from Trae. I like to see him kind of create on his own. And then Julius Randle, no disrespect, but push him right. I mean, that's all you got to do defensively. If you look 2 years ago, he was very dominant with the Knicks, and then defenses learned how to push him right. Mm-hmm. Because there's been a lot of criticism with him not knowing how to handle the ball with both hands, and with him being a southpaw, that was the biggest knock on him. So yeah, I agree, and you hit the nail on the head, man. I think this is an all-star season from KP, easy, because it's a revenge year. He's always gotten knocked on his health, but if you look at Dallas, he played well in Dallas. Averaging 20 points a game, average 60 games a year, which, I mean, you like to see you guys, close to 82. But, I think that he's going to be healthy this year. He's working on this game. I see an all-star season from KP. I think he's a really good complementary piece to Brad Beal. So I totally agree.
I think so too, especially with Wes Unseld. I think Wes Unseld Jr. really wants to run the offense through Kristaps Porzingis, similar to what they did in Denver. I know him and Jokic are different players, but you look at the way they ran the offense last year. They ran it through KP. Him and Bradley Beal together. They haven't played together too. So, I mean, I think both these guys, they attract a lot of double teams. They're going to get open shots for each other. So I'm intrigued. But we're going to wrap it up here. I just want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one Ultimate NFL Preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Just want to thank you guys for listening. And also submit more hot takes. We're going to do hot takes on the next episode. We're going to react to you guys' hot takes after we react to Deni's game against Serbia. So leave some hot takes for the Wizards' upcoming season down below in the comment section. Or you can DM either one of us on Twitter. We're going to put both of our Twitters down in the description. on YouTube and on the podcast. So definitely you can add us on Twitter as well on Locked On Wizards or our Twitter username. So thank you guys again. Hit the notification bell on YouTube and subscribe. Hail to the Wizards. Peace.